Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to conduct a self-interview for our assignment number 4, social work interview. I chose 8 of the 10 questions as we were assigned to do. The first question is, why have you selected a career in the social work field? I strongly believe that social work chose me. I didn't choose social work, as I had absolutely no intention of pursuing the social work field when I was in high school. I had taken up a part-time job as a social income support assistant. From there, I guess you can say the rest is history, as I became pretty passionate about the work, and it just came like a natural calling to me, so to speak. Therefore, I started pursuing my post-secondary education. The second question, what do you hope to accomplish in as a social worker? I guess my hope for me as a social worker would be to pursue social justice, as I feel very passionate about that, and creating fairness, equality among all of us. Whether that would be changing policies, helping a client, break down barriers, or just taking social action into my own hands for the topic of a greater cause, so to speak. How do you practice self-care? I would like to think that I try to take a break from the world sometimes. In saying that, I mean in a way of self-reflection by isolation. So I'll shut all technology off, or I'll leave my phone in the house and I'll take a walk on my land. I really love exploring my land. It's very beautiful. It gives me a lot of debriefing, and it helps me escape all of the issues at hand so that I can rejuvenate myself. Another way of rejuvenating is ceremony. Obviously, I'm Indigenous, so I believe and practice my Indigenous culture. I really enjoy my ceremonies as they give me groundation, and they help me to accept the things I cannot change. And I guess the courage to change the things I can. So that's another rejuvenating part for myself. And then aside from that, I do like to just socialize and hang out with friends and let loose, have fun, not take life too seriously. Question number 4. How would you describe your personal boundaries? I would describe my personal boundaries from separating my personal from professional. With saying that, who I am as a social worker doesn't necessarily mean who I am as Colleen. Colleen's thoughts and actions may differ from what the social worker in me thoughts and actions would address an issue. However, that doesn't mean I'm two different people. That just means that I'm human, and I'll address each circumstance depending on the professional or personal hat that I'm wearing at the time. Question 5. Can you describe your personal practice model? When I started out, it was more of a general practice model, and now that I'm working with an Indigenous community, my personal practice model that I like to incorporate is the Aboriginal approach. Now, the reason for the Aboriginal approach is that it listens to the client rather than the client listening to the social worker. For me, I find it is a relationship based on teaching and learning from both client and worker. And it leaves the client and worker with skills to manage themselves and help others. I find it to be a very holistic approach with the culture incorporating all of the dynamics and our environment into one. Question 6. What would you describe as your most challenging experience as a social worker? A challenge that I experience would be dual relationships. Because some of the colleagues I work with are personal friends, I guess we find it hard to distinguish a personal conversation from a professional. For example, we're hanging out as friends, and because we work together, we might have the same issue or a client, so we debrief about it. Or how can we help this person? When sometimes that's not always the best time to be talking about it. So, here we are talking about work circumstances when we're on personal time. Another way I look at it is sometimes, not all colleagues agree, and sometimes we may tend to disagree. Now, I find if we disagree in a professional setting, then we can work through it and continue in a positive manner. However, from my experience, if it is discussed on a personal level and we do disagree, not everybody walks away leaving it there. I find that the disagreement may create, it'll hinder the relationship. It definitely may create grudges and lost relationships sometimes, which would continue to hinder the professional relationship. So that's a challenge that I do face with being a social worker in a small rural community. Question 7, how do you measure success in your social work practice? I would say I measure success on a day-to-day basis, client to client or task to task. For example, how many tasks or what tasks were I able to accomplish in my workday? Did I accomplish any? How was I able to help that client today? What were our successes today? What were our strengths in that interview? Did I get that grant proposal done on time? Did I meet our deadlines? Were we granted the proposal? Success can vary in so many ways. Question 8. How has your education and previous experience prepared you for a social work position? My education has prepared me in ways of knowledge, skill, and applying theoretical practice in a generalist approach. Whereas my work experience has provided me with the hands-on application of the theoretical practices and just day-to-day contact with clients. The reality for me is not everything can be learned in class, and not everything that we learn in class is going to apply to our real life circumstances. So, my education and my hands-on experience definitely go hand in hand, as in they provided me with a holistic growth that complemented each other in the process of becoming the social worker that I am today. Um, my passion is very strong for social work. I've had thoughts about leaving the profession because I have reached burnout. It does tend to happen. Um, when I did reach that point, I had taken a step back, rejuvenated myself, and thought about a career change, but this is the fit for me. This is where I'm very passionate about my work, as I've stated previously, and where I believe I can make a difference. Whether it's in a client's life, in a nation's life, or I mean the bigger picture, maybe in world when it comes to policies and making changes that do need to be changed. So, granted my interview, thank you for taking the time to view my interview, and if you have any questions, I guess just respond to them and I will respond to you on our D2L site. Thank you.